Wholesaling real estate in a recession. Guys, this is Rick Ginn, and in this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly what you need to pay attention to when a recession happens. And the key word is when, not if. So listen, before we go any deeper into this, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, and let's get into it. Unless you've been living under a rock for the last, 10 plus years, we are in an unprecedented time for real estate. So real estate has gone in an upward motion. I mean, like straight up like a rocket ship since really 2010. And every year, so 10 plus years, this has never happened like this. So I'm gonna give you a little teaser here. Anybody from 2010 up till today, it's hard not to make money in real estate. The long-term real estate investor that focuses on wholesaling has to understand how to wholesale during a recession. So stop worrying about the people who make the predictions as the market's going to crash this. A prediction is nothing more than a prediction. They're never going to get the timing right, nor are you. So let's start out with the basics. Full disclosure, I've been through a massive crash. I actually went through the worst one back in 2008. It actually it bubbled in 2006. 7, it got a little bit stagnant. 8, the wheels fell off. And in 2009, it was a bloodbath. It was confusing. It was scary. And it really defined who I am as an investor today. Have come from my ability to flip houses in a recession and the ability to flip houses in an extremely tight knit market like it is right now, meaning there's no inventory and sellers can demand whatever they want. So what do we do when a recession comes? So what the goal of this video is to prepare you. And I'm speaking from experience. I've been through this. I will tell you what my fears are and how I got through it and what I will do on the next upcoming recession. So guys, markets are always going to go up and down. That's natural. It's like an ebb and flow. Most of the time, markets cycle maybe 5, 6, at the most 7 years. 10 is unheard of. So it's going to happen. I don't know when. I don't have a crystal ball, and nor do you. And anyone who predicts it is just trying to make a prediction. And what they do is they keep predicting until they get it right. Anybody can do that. So stop listening to them and focus on what you need to do during a recession. So this is actually simple. So right now we are all focusing on sellers, right? What can we do to get more seller contracts so I can wholesale properties? All our efforts are on marketing. The reality is when a recession hits, you actually have to go back and focus on buyers. So Rick, what do you mean by focus on buyers? You got to cater to their needs. So there's going to be less buyers and more sellers. So you'll be buried in people wanting to sell their properties for a great price. The question is, can you find a buyer? So in the last 10 years, it's so easy to find a cash buyer. Most people have not even paid attention to this. When this market shifts, this will become blatantly apparent who has buyers and who doesn't. Remember, buyers are in control during a recession. They basically choose which properties they're going to buy, who they're going to buy it from, and who they want to buy with. So the goal is to put you in that limelight. So all these sayings where it's like, take my offer or leave it during this ridiculous last 10 years, none of that's going to hold water in a buyer's market. The buyers have long-term memories. If you've scorned them, if you've screwed them over on a price, they're not going to forget it. So I agree. You only need one buyer per property, but if you're focusing on this business long-term, 10 years plus, there is a great group of cash buyers out there. You always want to focus and cater. It doesn't mean you sell them every property, but they will help you get through the lean time. So let's walk through it. So we're going to cater to their needs. You're just going to be more attentive to your buyers. You want to know exactly where they're buying and what they're buying and the price points. And here is a great tip. Stay in contact with your buyers. We have so much automation with email, with text. But I like the good old-fashioned thing, pick up the phone and just talk to them. And during a down market, my really good buyers, once a month, I'll reach out and just say, hey, John, how you doing? How's it coming? And I'm trying to see if they're being offered any other properties, what kind of price points. And I want to be the guy that's a level above them. Now, remember, buyers will actually pay a premium if you present them a property, they know the truth on it, and they feel like it is a seamless transaction. That's why my buyers love working with me. In the last 7 years, actually the last 5 years, the gurus have taught you just to run your buyers over, don't take any of their demands. And I believe a lot of that's going to come back and haunt people. Remember, I want you to get the best price possible for your properties. But keep in mind, you can't keep stepping over buyers because when the market shifts and there's a recession, those buyers will go away. And the guys that were buying on a steadily pace from you that you decided to just kick them to the curb, they're not going to buy from you just out of principle. So go ahead, and if you can repair any of those relationships, do it. Also, keep in mind, landlords are golden during a recession. Well, Rick, wouldn't landlords be the toughest? No. Landlords like a really good deal, don't get me wrong, but they're more focused on cash flow than they are on the end value of the property. So what I mean by cash flow is if the property rents for $900 a month and their overhead on the property is around $400 or $500 a month, they'll buy that all day long. And they don't care. They'll take those properties. They'll take them cash, subject to creative financing, whatever you come up with. So do not kick the landlords to the curb. They are actually really good buyers and they buy fast. Now, are they going to pay full retail? No, they're not. So we are not retail sellers. And I think a lot of people have missed the boat and they're selling properties at near market values. That's not wholesaling. It's not even close, to be honest with you. Wholesaling's not even selling at retail. It's below discount. So I think people have mixed up on how to deal with buyers. Most people don't even have a buyer's list anymore. They depend on so many other methods to sell their property. Guys, during a recession, the table shifts. You have to focus on buyers, find out exactly what they want, and you got to focus more on that than you actually do on sellers. So I want you to understand, let's talk about the seller side. Rick, what do I do differently with the sellers? Well, by now, the sellers will get the information that the market is really heading downhill. And you will get kind of a mob mentality like, oh no, I better sell quick. And they're scared. And quite frankly, they should be, because a lot of them overpaid for the property. So what you need to do is redirect your marketing efforts and look at everything, because no longer can you do a shotgun approach where you send out 10,000 texts, 10,000 emails, 10,000 cold calls, 10,000, letters, whatever you do, because a lot of these people will respond and then you got to sort through them all. And a lot of them are going to be in areas where you don't have buyers anymore. So if you don't have buyers and you don't know where they're buying in a recession, you need to spend time with your buyers and figure it out. If you don't have a good buyers list, you can start with title companies. They'll tell you where they're buying at. It's not rocket science to do this, but you have to redirect your marketing efforts and make sure you're now buying properties where the cash buyers are. A lot of times during a recession, a lot of areas will shift. They'll either grow or they'll shrink. And your old reliable marketing channels and methods won't work nearly as effective. So I like what I call guerrilla marketing, which means every dollar is directed towards my highest priority list. And you should always start with a guerrilla marketing tactic. Bandit signs, for example, work really well during recessions. Check with your local county and city ordinances, because everyone seems to be really strict on that. Another tip with sellers, make sure your closing windows are much more stretched out. A 2-week or a 10-day closing during a recession is a recipe for a disaster, especially for wholesaling. You need to build in 60, if not 90-day windows. Even 30 days, you have to have flexibility. So the reason for that is your sellers are more motivated to sell the properties. And I find during a recession that your closing date is much more flexible and the sellers are just happy to get an offer. So keep in mind, do not do your standard 30-day closes. I know a lot of people are doing 10 days, 14 days. Push it back 60 days, if not even 90 days. And you can even build in your contract an automatic extension. So remember, they're having a harder time selling the property. You're having a harder time getting buyers. You need time. Build them into your contracts during the recession. In the last 10 years, if you're bulletproofing 2-week or 30-day closes, you will have to shift that mentality because it will catch you quickly in a recession. So also make your sellers, this is common sense, but make them aware of the current market conditions. Things are tough. I don't have as many buyers. I'm not even holding the properties right now. I do have some people I work with, but I'm going to write you a contract, but you got to be a little bit flexible with me. And I find they're very open to doing that. So like the days where you're trained right now, everything's a 30 or a 2-week closing, you're going to find in a recession, that's a recipe for disaster. Don't do it. So the last thing with sellers is you need to adjust your sales conversation because now you're discussing the doom and gloom of the market, which during a recession, and remember, most recessions, they only last 24 to 38 months on typical, meaning that big dip. And you're never going to time the bottom. You're never going to time the top. So don't worry about it. It's just like the stock market. So what I want you to do is build in the language when you work with your sellers. What you want to do is predispose them to a discount if needed down the road. So you put the property under contract. If you're going to give a 30-day window, make sure you have a 30-day extension built into the contract, or just write it for 60 days. They probably won't care. I would even try 90 days. And if they negotiate, you do 60 days. But just saying, listen, I'm having these properties are sitting on the market for 6 and 7 months, and it's just getting harder. So I can do this price, but I'm going to be honest with you. If I have some struggles with you, I got to come back to you and talk about some numbers because I know you need to get it sold. I know what you need to get, but I need to see what the house can afford when I do that. So just keep in mind, you're going to preface the sellers. Nobody does this right now. And in a recession, it's very common to ask for discounts when a property sits. Today, if you ask for a discount, you get kicked out of the contract, you get kicked out of the house, and you move on. In a recession, it's common. You have prices that are falling, and sometimes you write the contract wrong, and you need to adjust the price to make it work. So here's a cool little trick, and I want you to pay attention to this part because I learned this the hard way. But through trial and error, I perfected it. Now, I haven't done it in a long time because I don't really need to do it anymore. You have a recession, meaning the prices are falling, and they continue to fall. And by the way, real estate does not just drop overnight. It is always an 18 to 24 month drop. So this will go on over a 2-year period. Is if you're new to the business and you just started out in wholesaling, or you're new to a recession wholesaling system, is you're going to write contracts. They're not as hard as you think during a recession. You can write your contract as long as you pre-vet your buyers, meaning you've met your buyers, they have a proof of funds, make them sign a non-disclosure agreement, even though they're not really legal in what we do, is if I can't figure out what to buy this price for, and the seller's not going to give me like a really deep discount, like 50 cents on the dollar, is I will train my cash buyer, somebody I have vetted, meaning I've sat down with a cup of coffee, I reviewed that they have the cash in hand and they know how to close on properties and they're very comfortable with myself and an assignment. I will bring them through the property. I just let them know it's my partner. I walk them through it and I have them take a look around with it. And I said, listen, you got 5 minutes. You're going to walk next to me and you are not to talk to the seller. They take a look, they take a couple pictures, and then they get in their car. And then right then and there, I said, John, what do you think? What do you think you can pay for it? 9 times out of 10, John will tell me a price right there. Rick, I can give you $100,000. I can't give you a penny more for it. Perfect. I will call you back late this afternoon or early this evening. He's like, great. Let me know if we have a deal. So when he leaves, I'm going to go back and sit down with the seller and talk to him again. I said, listen, my partner looked through it. He brought up some points about, the AC, the roof, like whatever it is. And now you know what you can sell it for. The question is, what kind of discount can you get to make it work? So I know I offered you $75,000 when I initially wrote the contract, and you kind of hemmed and hawed at it. But I tell you what, I can go up to 80 if you want to do that. But I can probably get it closed in 30 days for you, and just see what they say. Worst case scenario, guys. Worst case scenario if you had to go to 90, or say you've got to get your bills paid and this is the only contract you have, you could go to 95 and do an assignment with your cash buyer, and you go meet them at the coffee shop and get it done that day. It will give you the confidence to close deals when you don't know where the bottom of the market is. And at some point you will have this experience, I promise you. I remember having 12 properties under contract and I was losing my mind. And this was in 2009. And I did this little trick. And what I did is I found where the bottom was, what they would pay for it. Because I found a lot of buyers wouldn't give me the number until you presented the contract. And as you know, when you present a contract and you get it wrong, it's much harder to go back and get a discount. It's easier during a recession, but you still got to kind of eat crow and go back and get it discounted. So don't bring a brand new buyer in there that you don't trust and you never met with, because they're probably going to screw your deal up. So bringing your buyer with you. And then how do I explain it to the owner? Remember, I'm always going to tell them the truth. So if they are a cash buyer and they bought through me before, I just represent them as one of my funding partners, one of my cash partners, and we work well together. And he specializes in the rehab, and he's given me an idea what it's going to cost to rehab the property, so I can give you an accurate offer. That's it. It's clean. I told the truth. The sellers don't care. It's when you start like just making up all this stuff that doesn't make sense, it's going to get you in trouble. So don't do that. And guys, keep in mind, your best acquisitions for long-term wealth in real estate have always been bought in a down market for me. So I've gotten some gems during the current market, don't get me wrong, but my very, very best deals were bought during a down market. Last but not least, guys, creative financing is king in a down market. I sold so many properties that I could easily take over subject to. I could have lease option, I could have done, and I sold them because I was nervous with the market when I was a lot younger. And today, that will never, ever happen again. People are very open to your offers, and creative financing really rules. So you'll find in a recession, there is a large amount of people that are behind on their payments, going into foreclosure or getting ready to go into foreclosure. That is the perfect opportunity, if you can't strike a cash deal, to come up with the creative terms. And here's the key with creative terms, guys. There's a lot of courses out there. I'm not here to teach you a course. You guys know we give this information away for free. The key to creative financing, without going into every detail, is you have to cash flow from day one, especially during a recession. What do I mean by that? If you decide to give them $3,000 down, and that's the minimum they'll take, you've got to make sure the house is in good shape and needs little to no repairs. That's rule number one. Number two, you got to make sure you can at least double, if not triple, your money from a down payment for whoever you're going to sell it to. So if I give it $3,000, I got to make sure I collect $9,000. You know why? Because I figure I'm going to have to make maybe a payment or two and probably do some minor repairs, maybe paint the place, maybe some flooring or something like that. You got to leave a buffer to make money. Under no circumstance during a recession do you give somebody 10, 15, 20 grand down, do these extensive repairs, and then have someone give you like 5 or 10 grand. That is a recipe for disaster. And I see more people doing that in today's market. And, you know, if most people in wholesaling are not in that position to do it, and I don't want you to do that. So creative financing, everything's negotiable. The less you put down and the better condition the property in, the better off is your success. Honestly, I rather buy nice, clean properties and give them 3 or 5 grand up front, and then I'm going to try to collect 15 or 20 grand. I can make my assignment, basically is what it is, an assignment fee up front, and then I'm looking for $400 plus a month in cash flow. Rick, why do you say 400? Because you're probably going to screw the number up, and if it's only 200, then that's your worst case scenario. But remember, you got tax, insurance, you got miscellaneous costs that come with this stuff. I love creative financing. I'm not here to teach it to you. I got nothing to sell it to you. Zach has forbidden me from doing it. But you definitely want to fresh up your skills going in the recession, because creative financing is awesome. And it is a great way to collect a lot of properties with little to no money down. So guys, if you like this information, if you love content like this from me and Zach, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, smash that like button. Give me a comment. What do you think during the recession? Give me a prediction. When do you think the next recession's coming? Because I've been watching the doom and gloom days predicting this since 2014, 15, And we're 5 years plus into it now, and the market hasn't really changed. It's actually gone up. So, guys, this is Rick with Flip with Rick, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks.